Hello from the Birdcage Hotel, Longreach. Well, that's getting pretty much central Queensland if you don't know where it is. Hot and dry out here, drought affected for many, many years. But I'm here with a few of the locals here. Now, to my left, I've got Ed Warren, Mayor of Longreach. Welcome, Ed. Thanks for being part of this. And to my right here, well, I've heard this is the character of the town. Am I right, Bluey?
Oh, you're fair to say, be right, yeah.
You got to speak up. Don't be shy. I've heard you're not shy.
Oh, no, I'm not shy.
All right. And of course, Gary. Hi, Gary. This is your son's hotel, is it?
Yes. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Bit tired, bit worn out for an old girl. I tell you what, I've just been on the Burrumbutty K run and started on Wednesday. James and I, and our little Jabberoo, 2:30, we flew down to Griffith. Then we started out the next morning, Thursday morning, from the Dullington Point in one of the trucks. And first day, 13 hours in the truck before we went to at Wangaratta, Wyandra, I think it was. Well, Wyandra, yeah, Wyandra. And then yesterday on the road, we made good time this trip. And last night at Longreach. And then this morning, I've been out to Muttaburra, and we've dropped off the load of hay. So all the trucks were out there dropping off the load of hay, and I'm sure the farmers are always grateful of it, as was just last year. Last year I did 2 trips, so it's great. Anyway, great to be here. Well, we're going to talk about some of the issues, and I'm sure you've got some questions to ask me with regards to the federal politics, and also just to talk about what's happening in your town and what you want to see happen here. What do you think, Ed? What would you, if you had a wish list, what do you want to see?
Well, I think the main thing is long-term funding. You know, local governments out here have been restricted in their funding and should be recognised for their contribution to the national economy. And in saying that, they need to have a share of taxation, say 2% and indexed, and not through the federally assisted grants program that they've currently got, which is based on population, remoteness. It's a very complex sort of formula, and it goes from federal to state and eventually ends up in local government. But right at the moment, that money is frozen. There's been no increase for 3 years, and it's had a catastrophic effect on us sustaining our services to our communities right across. So I think reform is overdue for our base funding, because unlike your coastal councils, our rate base here in Longreach region is 23% of our revenue, but our other councils in the central western region, their net return from rates is probably 10 to 12%. So it's very important that we get good, solid funding, assured, so that we can build on that, because for us to maintain our assets and to build them, bring them back up to, proper sort of purpose to what they are, we'd have to charge the ratepayers an increase of nearly 50%. We did an exercise the other day, and that's not sustainable.
They can't afford it, can
No,
it? People around here can't afford it. They're actually really struggling to survive, the small businesses, and that's what I've heard on occasions that I've been up here. And another complaint that I'm hearing is people are fed up in rural and regional Queensland seeing the money spent in the southeast corner, and it's not coming to these areas.
That's true. It's I think I go back to what I said before. We've is not recognised, and yeah, sure, there's people in the cities, in the southeast corner that service it, that give us benefits, but really, you go down there and their roads are built with gold plates, I call them. But out here, we've got potholes, and we're way behind in our maintenance and capital investment on our even on our state and federal roads and local roads. So I think it's about time that there was reform, for rural and remote councils in particular, for that long-term sustainability.
Yeah. Gary, what do you? Are you retired? Are you still working? Or I don't think you ever retire and you're out in the bush, do you? It's never really a retirement.
No, we don't retire out here. Not early anyway, put it that way. But, I think that the government have got to get behind that project in Alpha with the mine, which I know there's a lot of backlash on a lot of that. And that would make it a lot better.
Are you talking about the Adani mine?
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Because a lot of people from here go away further for jobs, and it would make it a lot better for jobs for people here if that mine did go ahead.
Well, it is supposed to be going ahead. I had a meeting with the CEO of Adani Mine. They had a lot of problems with drag through the courts, and they were getting funding from America and constantly laying, taking them through the courts, dragging them through the courts. Anyway, it looks like now it is going to go ahead, so that's been dealt with. I'm pleased to see it. They estimate around about 10,500 people that it will actually create jobs for over a period of time. So not initially, but once they actually build the mines, a lot of people will get work initially building it. It all sounds good to me. My concern is, what I will be facing up is doesn't affect the water table. I don't want it to affect any water. And I did raise that with them. They assured it wouldn't, and also it wouldn't have an impact on the farmers around it. They said they have got contracts with the farmers. If it does affect the farmers, they will actually buy them out, and they're quite happy to do that. So that's another thing that I've actually followed up with to make sure it does. But it will bring a lot of money to the area, and especially building the railway line, a lot of people getting jobs here. They have assured me that it won't be the fly in, fly out. I mean, say as far as overseas workers coming in. So hopefully these are things that I'll keep an eye on and will ask further questions about. But your son actually owns the pub?
Yeah, he's a deal with
Kevin? Yeah.
Another 3 people here.
Yeah, I was having a talk with him because what I'm finding in rural and regional Queensland is the cost of electricity. It's just a killer. And I actually was having a bit of a talk with Gavin just before this, and he was telling me, I could not believe, his electricity bill is $17,500 for 3 months. That's how much it is costing. No wonder small businesses are struggling to survive. And it's not only the pub here, it's just other small businesses, even households, how they can afford it. This is why I was pleased to hear Malcolm Turnbull say they're looking at the coal-fired power station for North Queensland. I'm all behind that. I'm all for that. And that was one of my policies, to bring power to North Queensland so you're not subjected to these exorbitant prices, because there's no competition up here. And I think we've got to address the cost of electricity. And you said the same, Ed, didn't you? You know, about the cost of power.
Absolutely. That's a very important part of supporting the residences and industry out here in the Central West, and to try and reduce the price of power to everyone out here is important. And I think that over time we've got to take advantage of our sunshine, look at ways of using the heat from our bore water, combine the two together, and I'm sure that we can create far cheaper electricity for everyone than what it is now. And I think a longer term vision is for us to build our own energy smart grid out here in the Central West, still be connected to the national grid, but through geothermal and solar combined, I'm sure that we can do that, because as you just alluded to, it's really is struggling. Businesses are already struggling now to keep their doors open, but the cost of rising electricity prices is really not helping at all.
Yep. Blue, tell me about yourself.
What do you want to know?
Well, Is he always like this, quiet, or what? Or has he just been shy?
Yeah,
has he just been shy with me?
Oh, no.
Oh, come on, Blue.
I'm a
What do you do?
local here. I'm
Local?
a builder. Been
Yeah.
here all my life. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
A builder?
yeah.
Been building many houses
No,
lately?
not many houses, just a bit of renovation and stuff, yeah. Yeah, we go around the area. Yeah.
You haven't been a shearer in your day, have you?
I've done a little bit of that, too.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you that one.
No, only
Work.
no, I just enjoy life. Like to have a punt, a couple of beers. Yeah, just follow.
And how would you fix the world, the economy?
the world?
Yeah, well, how would
Well,
you
you're on
start
the right,
fixing?
You're on the right track at the moment. Us redheads, we stick together, you know. No, yeah, I think you're doing all right with your policies, a couple of policies there.
All right. Any hints? Anything that I need to, pick up? Any hints to tell me?
No, not really. No. It's just
Well, that's good.
It's just good that some politicians they don't care, but you've got a bit of flair, so you seem to be doing a good job.
Well, I
That's
appreciate
why I
that.
voted for you.
Oh, thank you. Well, we try. We're trying. I tell you what, Blue. After 18 years, I was voted out in 1998. But I not really voted out. I did win it on the primary. I was way ahead of the Libs who won it on the preferences. But 18 years and all the elections that I've stood in, I never gave up. It's called persistence. Persistence. That was me. But anyway, I'm here and I'm very honoured and very grateful for your vote and putting me back into the Senate with Senator Malcolm Roberts.
One of the reasons why you're probably on the right track, everyone's got the same opinion.
Oh, it's listening to grassroots Australians, and that's why I'm here,
Yep.
and talking to the locals and, trying to find the answers. Look, I don't know everything, and I haven't really got an opinion on everything. You might think I have, but I have a good go at it. But the fact is that you try. I think it all comes down to common sense, a lot of this, isn't it?
It does, but it's gone out the back door, I think.
Yeah.
Common sense is not around much.
No, I think a lot of these bureaucrats down there don't have a clue.
That's it.
Yeah, just in the universities, get their degree, piece of paper, and I don't think they've been out in the real world.
Hard work, they don't like it.
Employed staff and done the hard yards with it. But anyway, it's all very interesting. But I'm pleased with the way it's going. We've been able to achieve a lot. Sorry? Oh, the bar tab's on, is it? Okay. Who's having a beer? First 100 beers are on me. So if you'd like to have a beer, up at the bar. I've got mine. What about you?
Oh,
What are you?
right, thanks.
You're
Yeah,
right?
I'll do- yeah, I'll get
Everyone's
one shortly,
right?
but
Yeah. Anyway, if anyone over there would like to get a beer, please go up to the bar. No, it's good. We've actually started this. It's called Politics in the Pub, and we've done this a few times, and I think it's very interesting to have this, and it doesn't matter where it is, Longreach or whether they've been up to, it was in the suburbs of Brisbane or Sunshine Coast, we've been there as well. And I think we did it the first time, and guess what? It was only a couple of weeks later, Malcolm Turnbull was doing it. So I think he must have watched ours. But anyway, if I can show them a few things or teach them a few things or, and they pick up my lead, I've got no problems about that whatsoever. So it's very interesting what we're doing. Just to tell you a few things, I don't know if you heard about a couple of weeks ago, we had a big win, One Nation did, with the land acquisition, the Singaporean land acquisition. So it's something that I got quite heavily involved in. I went up to Charters Towers, plus also to outside Shoalwater Bay, and speaking to the farmers there, they did not want their land to be taken over, and it was they were going to buy up approximately about 800,000 acres of land now for the Singaporeans. That was basically 4.5 times bigger than what Singapore is now, and we were going to lose around about, could be anything between 40 to 60 farming families on those two areas. So common sense prevailed, ended up getting it turned around, and they're not making it compulsory land acquisition now. So the farmers were really, really happy about that, very happy about it. But it was a big effort with it, and that's what it comes down to, people power and getting out there and representing the people. What we're working on at the moment, what I've been heavily involved in now, is dealing with the cane growers up around the Burdekin and with Wilma. You're aware of it, Ed? Yeah. They haven't come to an agreement whatsoever. So I've been speaking to the Prime Minister about it. We've been putting pressure on them and Barnaby Joyce to try and come to some finalisation, get Wilma and QSL to come to an agreement. But the farmers are really desperate now, getting to a stage. And what annoys me is they've allowed this Wilma, who's a foreign investor, to actually buy up the 4 mills that are up there, and they've actually controlling it, and the growers can't. So we've got to get it back in the hands of Australian ownership, and I think that's where we need to go. And if we're going to sell any foreign ownership in Australia, they can't hold the people or the country to ransom. And I've always said your essential services, your water, gas, electricity and telecommunications and your defence should never end up in the hands of foreign ownership. That should be run by the government for the people at cost. So it's not there to make profit, but to help the Australian people. Another big thing I suppose you can talk about here, and it's very important to this area, is tourism, Ed, isn't it? You rely on that, don't you?
Yeah, tourism is a major part of our economy, together with agriculture, and tourism over the last 20-25 years has really matured, particularly in Longreach, but also in the Central West, in our other towns from Blackall, Barcaldine and Winton in particular. It's a very important part of our economy, and it's something that we need to to support, encourage to grow, because they employ a lot of people and create a lot of jobs. And additionally to that, they support a lot of local businesses, and it's just like agriculture. We've got to do our best to support anything that can improve the local economies, and because we try to maintain our community, stop the population decline, and so we can bring families back into our communities.
Tell me, do you get a lot of Aussies coming through here, or is there also a lot of foreign tourists as well?
Not a lot of foreign tourists. The majority of our visitors to our region and our towns are from Australia, and the international visitation would only make up probably about 15 or 18%, and but that's an opportunity to grow and build partnerships with, say, like the Gold Coast, or with Rockhampton, Yeppoon, Townsville, Cairns, trying to get packages so that people could come out and visit us out here in Longreach and our other central western towns, because there's some great attractions here out in the outback that really concentrate on the history and heritage of what this great nation was first brought up on, on the sheep's back.
Look, if you haven't been to Longreach, put it on your bucket list to actually come here, and you must go to the Hall of Fame. And the Qantas actually started here, didn't it? So you've got the Qantas Museum.
No, if you're in Winton, they reckon it started there. So
I was about to say that, and I thought, oh no, someone else claims that. But
No.
You've got the Qantas Museum here, haven't you? And you've put in the big runway for the
I'll
big
just have to
jet.
correct you on that one.
All right, please do.
It was conceived in Cloncurry, born in Winton, and grew up in Longreach.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Well, I have been educated. That's fine. But I think if you're headed out here, you must go and see it. The Qantas Museum, plus also the Hall of Fame. I think that's a fantastic building. It's I love going there. Been there a few times.
Good.
And looked through it. And where else would you go for people to actually come up here to have a look at?
Oh, look, we got plenty of things to do in Longreach. They've got the Longreach waterhole, which is very unique. And I must say, this year we're going to celebrate in October. We have a month-long fiesta. We call it October Fiesta, and this year it'll be concentrating on the river. It's a great waterhole, and it's iconic is a word, but it's well known. So we're going to do that. But It's not only Longreach. We also work in with other towns in the Central West. Winton to the west is the Matilda Centre will be commenced to be rebuilt this year. We've got the Australian Age of Dinosaurs out there, which is growing all the time. And to the east, of course, we've got the Tree of Knowledge and Barcaldine, and of course where the great shearer strike was. And down at Blackall we've got the Wool Scour, which should be attracting a lot of people. Sally, is that right?
I don't know if you know this. I was actually married in Blackall.
Really? Well, you've got a connection to the Central West, haven't you?
I was married in Blackall in 1971.
Really?
Yeah. And I lived there for about 3 months, and my husband worked out in the oil rigs. So they had the oil rigs just at Blackall. So that was very interesting for me at that time.
So you'd notice a difference now. We've got a bit more bitumen, but it's falling apart. But anyway, we appreciate that. There was a lot of dirt roads, gravel roads in those days.
Yeah. No, it's really good. We're having trouble with the mics here. I'll take them. Thank you, James. No, it was Blackall's a great little town.
Oh, it definitely is. We've got Sal over
beautiful.
here. She's from Blackall.
Okay,
She defends it to the last minute.
No, it's well maintained. It's beautiful. No. It's a beautiful little town. And actually the mayor, last time that I was going through in the trucks, he put me in the car and took me to drive around, and I'm trying to find the church that I was actually married in. So it looked all a bit different. What are we now, 45 years later, or something like that, 46 years later? Yes.
No, but we are a great region. The rapid group of councils, the 7 local governments in the Central West, we work very closely together, and it's an important that when we have issues, we share our concerns. We come up with plans to try and help and maintain our communities and look for opportunities to grow new businesses, and I think that's very important. When we talk to governments, we can go as a united group. So I think that's very important.
Good. I don't know. Would anyone like to ask a question? Just ask a question, not a... We won't have a long, debate, but ask a question. Would you like to ask a question? No? Yeah? Sorry, is that my... how do I feel about cutting of the wages? Where they've actually dropped it back a bit. When that was brought in 1947, your working week was basically Monday to Friday, so people had full-time jobs at that time. Over the period of time, casual labour is becoming more the norm than full-time work. We've changed from 1947 to what it is now, because now we have businesses that run 24/7. If we don't start addressing it, small businesses can't keep up with it. What's going to happen is, and I know running my fish and chip shop, if I had to pay, I worked the weekends basically by myself, and Sundays I did, and I only put staff on at night time. If I had to pay those wages now, I couldn't survive at double time. So what's happening is your small businesses will shut down, and your big business will take over. So when you have 85% of your workforce is created from small business, we have to look after small business. There's another thing too, I'd like to see small businesses and families spend more time together. I don't think we need this 24/7 trading hours. People only have so much money to spend, and what it is doing is destroying the family time together, families together. So when you've got mum and dad or someone that's got to work all these odd hours or work on weekends or whatever to try and make the money to pay the bills, I get that, I understand that. But then a lot of the time the kids have to be at home by themselves, and you haven't got that family time together. You're talking about the company tax? That one where they're wanting to drop it about 1.5 cents on the company tax.
Paying more. Sorry.
Yeah. Right. What with the company tax, they're wanting to drop the company tax because that's where, if the companies can reduce their overhead costs, they will create the employment. Before the reduction in company tax, I would like to see payroll tax dropped. Or actually, if we can get rid of payroll tax, I think that's where the big drain is on businesses, because it's a stupid tax to me, because the more people that you employ, the more taxes you are paying. So here in Queensland, you've got, if your wages are 1.2 million above, you're actually paying, I think it's around about 5.5% tax on that. That's ridiculous. So that's something that I would like to address, and we are wanting to do that after the next state election, because it is a state tax. That is something One Nation is looking at. Governments won't do it because they make too much revenue out of it to get rid of the payroll tax. But we're looking at a scheme to possibly implement it, which will create more employment if we can get rid of that business and creating, more people get employed. What the government is actually wanting to do with the omnibus, and you're talking about people out there that are struggling, and I know people are struggling, finding it very hard to pay their bills. We actually have to rein in our debt. We are now reaching around about $500 billion in debt. We can't keep going the way that we're going, because we will not have the funds to actually pay for the services that we need for the pensioners, for the sick, and those who are truly in need. Our welfare payment at the moment is around about $180 billion. By 2019, 2020, we're looking at just over $190 billion. That's what we are paying out. So we can't afford it any longer. We need to rein in our welfare debt and what we are paying. No, this includes, no, this, are you talking about the welfare? That is pensions, it's carers, it's welfare, it's everything. That's, yeah, no. What I'm saying is, I'm expressing to you where this is, the money that is paid out. That's nearly half our budget. Half our budget goes that. That means there's no money to be put in for infrastructure projects, for, our defence. All this is starting to slide because we haven't got the money to do it. And it does have to be addressed. I understand. I'm not knocking the pensioners. They've worked hard. They've paid their taxes. They should be actually looked after. What we have a problem here is that people are actually abusing the welfare system and the doles. And they're actually going in. You have multiple names. You've got people coming in from overseas using their families' Medicare card to go see the doctor, to get prescriptions, to end up in hospitals. That needs to be reined in, and that's what I'm trying to advocate. It's called the Australian Identity Card. So if anyone wants to access taxpayer-funded services, you apply for the card. You present your identification, your 100 points like you do on mobile phone plan or anything else. You go to open up a bank account, you have to present your 100 points. You present your 100 points to then get this taxpayer-funded service, and you can use that card. So, and that will stop a lot of the rorts, people who are number of aliases using the card. We've got to start doing something to rein it in. And this is what I'm purporting, so the right people to get it. I've got no problem with people who are entitled to it, people who truly need it. But these people who are on welfare for 20, 30, 40 years, it's not good enough, and we cannot allow that to keep happening.
Like in America, after 9 months, the dole cuts out completely. And you've got to get a job for a certain amount of time, I don't know what it is, but for a certain amount of time before they can get the dole again. I think that's a wonderful idea, because anybody that's been on the dole for 9 months probably did deserve it, but in 9 months they should have been able to find a job.
Look, I think there's a lot of things we need to address here. We need to address the 457 visa holders coming into Australia. They're taking jobs that, we've got a lot of people out there who want the work, and case point is the maritime engineers. They have about 148 Australian workers waiting for those jobs. They can't get the jobs because the 457 visa holders are coming in, working on the ships and taking their jobs. Now, I've just wrote a letter to both the Prime Minister and Peter Dutton to actually address this, to cut them off the list. So any of these jobs out there, Australians are waiting for these jobs, we should actually cut them off the list, the 457 visa holders. I think they're using as a back doorway of getting into Australia, and that needs to stop.
Pauline, can I just say, out here in the Central West, we've got a really good scheme going at the moment, working for the dole. It's called Rescue, and what it's doing is those people that are on long-term, the dole, they get the opportunity to be upskilled to get permanent jobs, and we're working very proactively, not only in Longreach but right across the Central West, and it's very successful.
Oh, good. I'm pleased to hear that. I've got another scheme that I've been talking to Scott Morrison and all the ministers down there, including the Prime Minister. It's an apprenticeship scheme, and I think we're not bringing through the skilled men and women in these trades. We're losing the trades. What do you reckon, Bluey? Think we're losing the trades? Yeah. It's an apprenticeship scheme where the government pays 75% of the first year's wage, 50% of the second, 25% of the third year's wage. So if someone puts on a tradie or an apprentice, the government will pay these wages. Instead of having these kids out there or on a welfare payment or New Start payment, give that money to those who's employing them to pay the wages for the 3 years and end up with their own skilled tradesmen and women instead of bringing in the skilled migrants. What do you think about that one, Gary?
Yeah, good idea. But
Hang on, Gary first.
do I pass this to Gary or do I talk into it? I'll talk.
Gary talk.
How you going, Pauline?
Yeah.
Long-time supporter. I just want to know, we constantly get told by the government to rein in spending, cut down our, stop relying on benefits, but the government seems to rely on benefits more than anyone. They're hypocrites to themselves. Like Joe Hockey, he earns $360,000 a year and still gets a $90,000 a year pension for being the former treasurer of the country. Now I received, that's my son and wife, I received 2 weeks daddy partner pay from the government through Centrelink to take 2 weeks off work because my wife had to have a C-section. I had to take it without pay from the council, which was fair enough, but if I was to get paid, that would be classed as double dipping, and I could possibly get done for fraud for that.
So you got paid by the government, yes, for it,
Yeah.
but not by the council.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with that, not
Yeah.
double dipping, but it
Yeah.
seems like the politicians are double dipping more than and they're telling us to rein in our spending.
I have no problems with what you're saying. We just passed last week in Parliament about the gold leaf. So the former members of Parliament can no longer get gold leaf. I actually moved a private member's bill to have the former Prime Ministers, we've got Hawke, Keating, Howard, Rudd and Gillard that are still on it. Now they get their travel, Comcar, an office. Now their offices, by memory, John Howard's cost $112,000 for 6 months. You got Gillard, Keating and Rudd's about $63,000 for 6 months. Paying for officers, they get their staffing. I put up a private member's bill to cut that, so they're cut off completely, and also their spouses don't get the travel or anything. I had my other 2 senators and Cory Bernardi who supported me. Everyone else voted, and the Greens and Hinch and Xenophon all voted that they keep it. I'm all for reining in, and you're right. I don't expect the public to rein it in if I don't do it myself and show accountability. Case in point, all my staff and myself personally, I only fly economy. I'm entitled to, I can fly business. I don't book business. We actually go through and try and get the cheapest flight again with the airlines. I'm entitled to get a Comcar from my house to the airport. I don't do it. I drive my own car down to a parking lot. I park there, then I go down the bus, and then I go to the airport. So I'm trying to do what I can, show by example, and I truly believe in that, and that's what I'm trying to do. And I will constantly do that. Just last week as well, I moved a matters of public importance on the floor of Parliament to do with the CEO of Australia Post getting his $5.6 million. He got $4.8 million last year. There was a bit of a talk about it. No one did anything about it. By my raising it on the floor of Parliament and bringing attention to it, and we debated for an hour, I'll tell you what happened. I said it was so wrong. I wanted the board to be sacked because they've approved this. He's on a different remuneration. And I spoke about this. The Greens got up. Di Natalia got up. He actually criticised me for being racist. Now, I never mentioned the guy's name, the colour of his skin, or his religion. Nothing whatsoever. But I was criticised for it because that's the only way they can attack me. So what's happened now is he's resigned. He's gone. So that is great that has been achieved because $5.6 million for the head of the CEO of Australia Post is outrageous. And we need to now, and I'm targeting now, the other directors on the board. You've got 9 on the board, which are getting $90,000 a year. Then you've got the other 5 directors that are getting between $1.3 and $1.8 million a year. I have spoken to the minister, communications minister, about this, and and I'm also now targeting the bureaucrats, the other bureaucrats that are on $700,000, $800,000, $900,000 a year. I will be going after them, and I am going to ask for accountability. So I am trying to do the best that I can. No, it's only fair. Yes.
Oh, another subject I
yes,
mentioned
Wayne.
earlier, Pauline. Can you give us a status update on the medicinal cannabis situation for those that have cancer and things like that, please?
Yes. Thanks, Wayne. I got involved with medicinal cannabis about 2013, so we're looking at 4 years ago. It was brought to my attention. I spoke to a woman. I knew nothing much about it, and I spoke to the woman. She had a brain tumour. She showed me the photos, and she said, look, this is my brain tumour. She said, I went to America, I got on medicinal cannabis, and I've come back, this is it now. There was definite shrinkage there with the brain tumour. It does help. I've spoken to mothers with their children who have fits. It does help them. I've seen footage of it, and I've spoken to many people with it. It does help. Since that, I've been a very big supporter of medicinal cannabis, and we do need it in Australia. It's been in Israel for 20 years. It's in other parts of the world, which has worked very well. Canada, California, these other countries. I have been advocating for it for all these years. I was pleased to see that last year the state government here in Queensland was bringing it in, but only synthetic medicinal cannabis. I then asked a question on the floor of Parliament of, do you realise what they're doing in Queensland? And from that, they then, because synthetic is not the way to go, you have to have the actual plant, the product. So that then put a ripple through the Queensland government where they now have said it can either be synthetic or the real plant. What's come about with all this is that having spoken to the federal government now is going to allow, and we've passed in Parliament for medicinal cannabis to be actually grown in Australia. It will be produced and they will actually sell the product. So it is going to be legal in Australia. Just recently, the woman from South Australia whose house was actually raided and she's been charged. She was giving about medicinal cannabis illegally, but because it is a criminal offence, to about 200 people. I've been lobbying the Prime Minister and to actually give them an amnesty, along with Steve Dixon, who is the leader of our party here in Queensland. Now, I'm pleased to say that last week Greg Hunt, who I spoke to also, has now introduced it to Australia. So I think in about 2 weeks' time you'll be able to go to the doctor to get it medicinal cannabis. About 2 months? About 2 months, yeah. So now they're actually going to allow it to be brought into Australia so people can access it. So I'm pleased to hear that. But that's all because lobbying and you're pushing and people power. Yes.
G'day, Pauline. John Hawkes. Welcome here too, by the way.
Thank you.
You were talking just before about your speech in regards to the Australia Post CEO remuneration. I was fortunate enough Wednesday week ago to be in the motor car travelling across the Rocky, and they replayed your speech nearly in its entirety. It was absolutely fantastic, to the point. It was replayed through SBS on FM. They were derogatory in their lead-up remarks, is what they said before. Next is Pauline Hanson. They were derogatory about how they said it. What you said was nailed it perfectly. I'm a supporter of you. That obviously colours my views, but I just admire the fact that you keep getting up in front of adversity, and I'm one of many that is very appreciative that you're sitting here at the Birdcage today. Thanks for coming down.
Thank you. I'm only doing my job that you voted me in to do. You have no idea how humbled I am by it and proud to be a senator for the people of Queensland. It truly is an honour, but I also know it is a big responsibility. I'm not going to be able to please everyone with my views and the decisions that I make, but the decisions that I make on your behalf, I will always do at looking at the issue, what is fair, what is just, what I think is going to be beneficial, not only to you now, but for future generations. I'm not a short-term person. I don't look in the short term for anything. I'm looking at the long-term vision of everything, because that's what we must to guarantee the future of this country and the future for our kids and grandkids. That's what we need to do. I don't like these politicians who only do it now. What's in their best interest? Are they going to get a vote out of it? That's not the way we have to do. And that's how I take my position very, very importantly. And like I said, I'm very honoured to be there on your behalf representing you. Well, anyway, I think we'll have one more question.
Pauline, Michael Wedge.
Hi.
Yeah, I'm interested in all the assets that we've sold out of Queensland and Australia, which is our Telstra, our wharves, our rail system. What has that brought to our debt? We're sitting in so much debt at the moment, which we should have made money out of. Does Australia have any more to sell? Assets?
Does it have any more assets to sell? Not that I can think of. It's pretty much all gone. Look, I'm not for asset sales, not at all. And I get so annoyed when I see foreign governments, like Chinese governments, are trying to buy up our assets. Totally opposed to it. We've got to get smart, and we've actually got to start buying back these assets that they've actually bought from us, especially your public utilities and those assets. And I'd like to start rebuilding this country. I've also said, let's have a look at how we managed to build the Snowy scheme. How did we build the railway line between, Perth and Adelaide? That was done on, the bonds that the government went out there and sort of borrowed the money, and they built it. And so there's a lot of things that I want to do, like a national railway line that I'd love to see through the country. We're actually going to introduce in Queensland here. I've spoken to Steve Dixon, our state leader. We want to introduce the the Bradfield scheme. So anyway, watering inland Queensland. I think if we actually water Queensland, make sure there's plenty of water there, create more agricultural industry, keep the people on the land, the farmers on the land, don't sell our land to foreign ownership, growing the food, taken straight from paddock to plate, we're losing the taxation. The whole problem is we've allowed too much foreign ownership. Over 90% of corporate Australia is actually foreign owned. They don't pay their taxes here in Australia. They are registered to other countries and paying their taxes there. There's a lot that we can do if we have the leadership and the will to do it. Get our government out of the hands of the elites, the multinationals, the big businesses, and also the United Nations. And I'd like us to get back our sovereignty and run ourselves as a nation and in control of our own destiny.
And do you believe that we could own our own tracks in the Queensland rail system?
Do we own our own tracks?
We charge, privatise it. We privatise.
I know, the costs have gone up.
Every metre they move, we get the government's.
Yeah, and they shut it down. I'm hearing that from these areas too. So the cost of rail freight is just over the top. People can't afford it.
And the last question I'd like to ask is, this is more to the tourism to Ed and yourself, is our flights, we can fly from Brisbane to New Zealand cheaper than what we can from Longreach to Brisbane.
Look, I haven't got an answer for that at the moment. I haven't got involved in that with the cost of it. But again, possibly looking at the cost of the government taxes with your fuel and what they charge it. And we privatised all the airports. They're charging all these extra costs on top of everything. There's a lot to be done. Like I said, if One Nation can get a real foothold in the door of Queensland, I have a lot of vision, a lot of policies I'd like to introduce, and working with Steve Dixon. And, if we can get the state moving and start putting these ideas into practice, like the payroll tax, like the apprenticeship schemes, like the Bradfield scheme, that's not going to happen overnight. But as long as it is there to make a start on it, we can actually move forward with that. Tourism, I want to get going in Queensland. The Great Keppel Resort, that will go ahead. It will get the nod on that for the 30 gaming tables. I'd like to see the Port of Cairns dredged to bring in the ships into Cairns. The tourism ships, there is a lot that we can do. And the Adani mine going, I think there is a lot of potential here if it's done properly. So anyway, that's what I've got to say on the matter. But anyway, you didn't say a whole lot, Blue.
Couldn't get a word in. No.
I think they told me fibs about you.
Yeah, they have. Yeah. I'd just like to thank you for coming out anyway, Pauline, and just keep up the good work. And hope you're in for a while.
Well, you got me for another 5.5 years anyway. So anyway, no complaints. You got me for that long anyway. So until I'm up for the next election. But anyway, see how things go. But thanks for that, Lou. Yes, Ed.
Pauline, I'd like to comment on the airfares question that was, Longreach Brisbane in particular, and it is a government subsidised route. But I really think that there is a thing called a local fare. And you've got to sort of talk to the people up there at Qantas to be able to get that. And but from time to time, if you want to travel on a short notice, like 2 days or something like that, a single seat could cost up to $500 or $600, which is unbelievable. Because if we want to, that's one way, and if we want to attract people to come and visit. It's one way of discouraging people coming, so they do have these sales from time to time. They could be $100, could be $99 and that sort of thing. Well, that's pleasing when it happens, but we want sort of continuity of it. But the other thing that we've found that previously this airport was leased to Queensland Airports Corporation for 99 years, and our council is having very difficulty engaging with them to try and sort of get them to the table and say, can we organise other flights into Longreach, say from Cairns, from Townsville, from even Toowoomba, Wellcamp. There's an interest from that way. And to try and bring more people in and open it up. But at this stage, the people that have that airport they're not engaging, and we'll break that barrier down. We'll keep in their face, we'll keep on to them for it. But it was a very good question that was asked, and it's on our minds every day to seek opportunities.
Good, and thanks for coming, Gary. Been here, really nice.
Thank you, but I'd like to, Pauline, just ask you something. How do you fix up the debt that Australia's got? And it's like running a business, a country, So if you've got a problem, you've got to cut costs.
Yep.
Now, whenever the government wants to have a plan to cut some costs, I've noticed Bill Shorten goes straight against it. And it gets blocked. And it's like just getting back to like the workers and all that.
Yep.
It doesn't matter what, he goes against it. So if nothing can get passed, how can you save money? How can you end up with...
You've actually just said something, and everyone says, oh, well, the minor parties are blocking the Senate. They can't get anything through. The government can't do what they want to do in the Senate. The whole fact is, it's not the minor parties like myself or Xenophon or Hinch that are blocking it. If it was good legislation, why doesn't the Labor Party support it? You got the Labor Party, they've got the numbers there. Whoever is in government, the other side automatically blocks it, unless it's something to do with terrorism or something like that. Then they will support it. But it's all the time they will, hardly support each other, even if it's good legislation. And usually it's working with us, the independents, that is getting this legislation through, because regardless of who it is. And they're trying to make out that I'm in the Western Australian state elections, that I'm there shoring up the Liberals, I'm making sure they win the seats. No one in the wide world. I've seen both the Liberal, the Labor and the National Party run this country into the ground. I owe them absolutely nothing. That's why I have never given up to actually get back on the floor of Parliament to start representing the Australian people. They've all got some good policies, and I will support those policies if I think they are right for this country. But I'm not shoring up anyone. I don't owe them a damn thing after what they've done to me over the years. I'm here because of my country and because of what I want to do for the people. And I've got 4 kids and I've got 4 grandchildren. So I just want to make it very clear. In the Western Australian state elections, I'm not shoring up Colin Barnett. I've done a deal that's going to ensure that we get seats into that parliament. And we are now going to win seats in the upper house. We could end up with balance of power, as I have done in the Senate. And I think I've proven my worth that I've actually will pass policy if I think it's right for the Australian people. I don't horse trade. I don't say I'll pass this if you give me that. The others can do that. I don't do that. And I don't think the people expect it of me. So I think that we can have a big input in Western Australia, and I think we can have a real big input in Queensland. So all I can say to anyone who's listening out there, if you're considering One Nation, give us a go, because what the hell have you got to lose? Absolutely nothing. So let us prove it. If you don't like what we do, then good, don't vote for us the next time around. But you've really got nothing to lose at the end of the day.
Pauline, have you done a deal with the LNP on preferences?
No. Here in Queensland?
Right. Yeah.
No.
Oh, that's good.
No.
Just a question. There's a lot of media hype about that.
No, haven't even spoken to me about it. Labor's attitude, put it last, and that's their attitude, all right? So it is full preferential voting, and it is going to be very important on how the ticket runs. But, my aim is to get as many One Nation candidates elected to Parliament. So at the end of the day, you know what, people? It's your vote. The how to vote cards are only a recommendation. Use your brain, think about it when you go to vote. Don't be led like sheep to the slaughter. Look at your candidates. Look at their policies. Who's the first one you want to vote for? Put a 1 beside them. If they don't get up, who's your next choice? Put your number 2 beside them, and so on down your ticket till your whole ticket is filled in. Don't just take the card that looks the prettiest, or take the card that you think, oh yes, they're the ones that I'm going to vote. Oh, he's a good bloke. Oh, he's got the same name as me. Think about it, and it does happen. So think about it. You own your vote. No political party, no independent, no candidate. You own your vote. You put it where you want to put it.
You're absolutely right on that one. And I just make a comment too that here in Longreach, the community made an excellent job in picking their councillors, because they put a bit of thought into it. And it was by postal voting, and they had plenty of time to think about it. I know in one of our neighbouring councils, they only thought they'd give it when they came into the ballot box and looked at the names, and exactly what you said. Oh, he's popular. Bang, in they went. But it's getting them into trouble. But look, there's just one thing, pick up when you were talking to Bluey early today. He didn't say many words, but there was one thing, is use the common sense. So if you have a policy on common sense, that'll be fantastic. And there's the other thing that we'd like, if you could do one thing, is get us some money to do the last 18 kilometres of the Longreach Muttaburra Road.
Yes, I travelled on it today. You would not believe it shattered my tyre on my car. It's a brand new, it's a brand new Parada. It hasn't even done 10,000 Ks, and the tyre is absolutely shattered. So yeah, don't worry, I won't forget about that road. All right, guys, look, fantastic. Thanks for your attendance coming here to see me and listening to your locals and your mayor. It was great. So I hope you've enjoyed yourself and what I've had to say. But very nice of you. Thanks for the warm welcome as well. Cheers. Bye.
Thank you. Thanks for being very straight, Pauline.
Hey, thanks for coming, and I think we're all appreciated you being honest and frank, and you're talking what people want to hear virtually, and but it's great that you came out here to listen. That's the main thing. Thank you.